Did you know the war in Ukraine has become a conflict where ordinary life can vanish in an instant? A city block that felt normal in the morning can be shattered by nightfall. Apartment buildings, streets, windows, homes and families have all been pulled into the violence. For the people living through it, there is no true sense of safety. Only moments of calm between alarms, explosions and fear. In war, silence can be more terrifying than noise. A quiet street may seem peaceful, but everyone knows that peace can break without warning. That tension hangs over daily life, over every meal, every sleep cycle, every message sent to family. People learn to listen for sounds no one should ever have to recognise. The distant wail of sirens, the deep roll of incoming blasts. What makes this war so haunting is not just the destruction itself, but the unpredictability. A person can do everything right and still not be safe. They can stay indoors, avoid danger, follow warnings, and still find themselves in the wrong place when the sky turns violent. That is the cruel reality of modern war. It does not always give warning. It does not always choose military targets. Sometimes it lands in the middle of homes where people are cooking, sleeping, calling loved ones, or simply trying to get through another day. And that uncertainty creates a kind of suspense that never ends. Every siren forces a decision. Do you run or do you stay? Do you trust the shelter or do you fear the next strike? Do you answer the phone or do you leave it untouched and keep moving? War strips life down to instinct. It turns ordinary people into survivors before they ever have time to understand what that means. That is the world Victoria was living in. Victoria was inside her apartment when the missile struck the building. In a single instant, the explosion tore through everything around her. Her apartment was not just damaged, it was shattered by the impact. And then came the part that sounds almost impossible to say out loud. The force of the blast blew Victoria out of the apartment and sent her falling 9 stories to the ground. 9 stories is not a small fall. It is not the kind of fall a human body is built to survive. Even under controlled conditions, falls from that height are usually catastrophic. Add a missile strike, a building explosion, flying debris, collapsing structure, and the disorienting shock of being launched from a high floor. Statistically, the odds were stacked against her in every direction. Surviving that initial blast would already be extraordinary. But to be thrown from a 9th floor height and still live through the impact defies ordinary explanation. That is what makes Victoria's story so astonishing. It is not one impossible event, it is 2. First the apartment strike, then the fall. A missile explosion creates pressure, heat, shrapnel, and violent force. A fall from 9 stories creates tremendous impact energy. The combination should be overwhelmingly fatal. The fact that Victoria survived both is not just rare. It is the sort of outcome that makes people stop and ask how it could possibly have happened. It sounds unreal. It sounds like something that belongs in fiction, not in the real world. But war produces stories that are more extreme than imagination. Victoria's survival is also a reminder of how random life and death can be in war. One moment changes everything. One blast, one collapse, one fall. Against every expectation, one person remains alive. This survival does not erase the horror, but it stands as proof that life can sometimes persist when no one expects it to. Victoria's story is about the fragility of human life and the thin thread that separates tragedy from the impossible. She fell 9 stories and lived. That is extraordinary.